Good evening, everybody. Welcome to PSGL. Things are really starting to hot up now in the championship with just 4 rounds remaining. Who will come out on top tonight? And will everyone avoid the Wall of Champions? It is round number 7 of the season at the historic Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the Canadian Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Alongside me once again in the commentary box is Dan Field. Dan, how are you doing?
Doing really good. It's a pleasure to be back as always tonight for the Canadian Grand Prix. A really difficult circuit for these drivers to get absolutely perfect because of course there are a lot of places where the drivers can really make mistakes and plenty of chicanes where it's really easy to cut and invalidate your lap, so it's going to be a tricky one tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be quite a tricky race as well. Might be an interesting one on the strategies, but we'll get onto that a bit later. Last time out, it was the French Grand Prix, and if any of you are familiar with the French Grand Prix, with PSGL, it's probably not too much of a surprise, even if you didn't see the race, what I am about to say now. It was a victory for Blizzard, of course, his 3rd victory in PSGL around that circuit, always in the top 10. Pretty good results for the main championship contenders as well, that being Duncan and Wilson. Duncan taking that 2nd place on the final lap of the race from Wilson Hughes. Midnight as well, getting his best result of the season in 4th place. A few other drivers towards the top of the standings though struggled slightly. No points again for Used, no points for Samia Bean, no points for CRG Gamer as well. And with Duncan beating Wilson, he now has a lead in the championship. You can see there, 39 points for Wilson, 50 points for Duncan. And judging by a pre-race interview with Wilson, it sounds like he thinks Duncan is now his main target. Would you say it's a 2-horse race, or do you think there's still a chance for some of those further down the order to have a say in the championship?
Well, I certainly think that there are other drivers that still do have the pace, and it is very close from about 3rd all the way down into 7th. There's about 2 points separating Gamer, Blizzard, Eustace, and Samuel Bean. If one of those guys has a good race, they'll be right up in the championship fight. But Wilson, he said that he beat Used, and he thinks Duncan is beatable. Winning is in his blood, he says, so he's really going to be looking to take another shot at Duncan's championship fight, because Duncan was very quick in the last race. He did finish ahead and managed to extend that championship lead over his rival, but that was with the alternate strategy. So I think level pegging, these two are going to be as close as ever.
Yeah, I think definitely, especially in qualifying. It does look like Wilson has had the upper hand. He has been on pole twice so far this season. As far as I'm aware, I don't think Duncan's actually had a pole position yet. He has, of course, taken 1 victory. We've only had 1 victory from 6 drivers so far. No one has managed to take that 2nd victory. And even though Duncan was the only driver to get points for Alfa Romeo, they are still leading in the Constructors' Championship at the moment. As you can see there, 78 points for Alfa Romeo. McLaren on 69. Things really starting to hot up for the battle for 3rd place. Williams to Haas separated by 15 points, and Alfa Tauri down there at the bottom. You've got to feel sorry, especially for Will. Last time out, a puncture on the final lap of the race at 75%. After what looked like a fantastic performance from him, looked like he was going to get his 1st points of the season, and possibly even a top 5 finish.
It was just really unfortunate for Will. He had the pace in qualifying. He started right at the sharp end. I believe it was a 2nd or 3rd for him there. So I'm really hoping for the best for Will, the only full-time driver in this season not to score a point yet. Even his teammate Recon, who did struggle for a long time in Belgium, he managed to pick up a point. So I think Will, he's really just got to find at least 1 point to get some sort of momentum coming into the final couple of races. I just think that's got to be the target for him.
Yeah, it has, definitely. You can quickly just see what calendar we have got left for the final few races. Canada tonight, Japan next week. Japan, a really tough circuit for overtaking Azerbaijan. Who knows what the result could be at Azerbaijan? It's the first time it's been on the PSGL calendar this season. Of course, making sure that we do get all 22 tracks on the game. And then Brazil, a traditional home of the season finale. And we are getting to the business end of the season now. As I already mentioned, Canadian Grand Prix. As you can see on screen at the moment, predicted strategy, soft, medium, medium. Because of how short the pit lane is around here, it's one of the few tracks where the 2-stop is probably the fastest.
That is what I do love about Canada, is that the variety in the strategy is there. And it's going to be high octane and high speed in this Grand Prix. Only 12 seconds is the pit stop loss around this circuit. So it's absolutely crazy how competitive it's going to be, especially in the pit lanes, really pinpointing where you want to get that window. And of course, if you get damage early on, your race is definitely far from over.
Yeah, I think we're nearly ready to go. Just waiting for someone to press spectate. See, as I'm reading the Twitter chat at the moment. There we go. There we go. We are getting ready then for all the drivers to watch out for. Qualifying is going to be fairly important around here. We do see a lot of DRS trains and 3 DRS zones around this circuit. If you drop outside of DRS, it's going to cost you a lot of time.
Sorry, yeah, I was just reading in the Twitter chat. Everyone was getting a little bit angry at me for forgetting.
It's all right. You wanted to drive. You wanted to give us a driver's eye view. We're nothing if not innovative here at PSGL. But yes, we are getting ready to get underway. As I was saying, DRS, extremely important around this circuit. 3 DRS zones. Main overtaking point, probably the first DRS zone into turn 8 and 9. You probably won't see too much overtaking. I'd imagine it'll either be into the final chicane, the Wall of Champions, or maybe even into turn 1, which is a slightly heavier braking zone.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a very commonplace to see an overtake. I do think DRS trains will begin to form. There are 3 zones around this circuit where you can utilize that little bit of extra drag reduction on the straightaway. Of course, the letterbox, as Martin Brundle likes to put it, but certainly, if drivers can really isolate their victims, then we can see a lot of overtakes in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, we could. Are we daring to make any predictions about who could come out on top tonight? Could we even maybe see someone get that repeat victory for the first time this season?
See, the thing is, we've had 6 different winners in 6 races. That's already an incredible stat there. But there are still drivers that you could see winning a Grand Prix that haven't won yet. Youst hasn't won yet in this season. He's in 6th in the championship, 2 second positions, but he's still not won. Gamer's also not won a Grand Prix, and he's in 3rd. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a 7th winner in 7 different races.
Yeah, I think definitely those were the 2 drivers. I was probably going to mention Gamer. We've seen, like you said, had a good start to the season, but no points in the last few races. We'll see what he can do in Youst. A couple of second places. Midnight has started showing some good form all of a sudden. But enough of the talking. Let's get underway then for the qualifying session around what is looking like a very overcast at this moment in time. A very overcast Canadian Grand Prix circuit. Rain is always a possibility around here. Thankfully, though, if it does rain, we won't get a 4-hour race like Jenson Button had to endure in 2011.
Of course, a lot of safety cars around there, and it's very difficult for the drivers to finish. But I wonder if we are going to see any rain around in this qualifying session, and drivers could be making a mad dash out the pit lane just to get as much dry as possible. Hopefully it does actually stay like this, or at least get a little bit sunnier, just so the laps are truly representative of how quick the drivers are going, especially since they probably haven't done any wet practice. But the 2 Alfa Romeos at the moment, they're the first 2 out on track, and they'll be the drivers to put us up for qualifying. Yeah, definitely they do. They do seem to enjoy going out first, the Alfa Romeos. I've noticed that so far this season. Always go out as a duo, even though you aren't allowed. Of course, you are not allowed to use the slipstream in qualifying. That is banned here in PSGL, so got to go out separately, even though I imagine Youst is getting a bit of a boost down the straight from Duncan. It's only on his out lap. Now, let's go on board with Duncan then. Crucial that you get the final part of the lap right to make sure you have the best possible start on the run then, down towards turn 1, sticking over to the left-hand side of the track for the first one, drifting over to the right to take the racing line for turn 1, and then this long turn 2 that the drivers have to contend with on this lap. Now, heading towards the Sebastian Vettel chicane, turn 3 and turn 4. Just watch out for that wall on the right-hand side, the long right-hander at turn 5, where Stroll and Hartley came together, and then turn 6 and 7. Watch out for that curb on the inside, very easy to spin the wheels, and you need to be careful on the throttle as well as you head to the first DRS zone all the way down to the chicane at turn 8 and 9, which makes you think you can take it faster than you really can. You see Duncan there just getting a bit of oversteer as he hops his way over the curb. Now heading to another possible overtaking point in the race, the slowest corner
on the track. Seen of Robert Kubica's horrendous accident in 2007, coming back to win, of course, just 12 months later. 11 and 12, just little kings on this straight. There did used to be a bigger chicane on this straight back in the older days. 1978 was the first stand they raced here, and it was Gilles Villeneuve who took the victory. Now into that final chicane, the Wall of Champions, always welcoming those on the right hand side. Duncan heads towards the finish line. 107.789, very good lap from him as a first starter one. That's about 4 tenths slower than the fastest we saw in F2 earlier.
And we've actually just seen a couple drivers begin to cross the line. They've invalidated Young Power and I believe Jordan simultaneously invalidated at the same part as Midnight goes right to the top of the standings so far. It seems like that a couple of drivers are purple at the moment. I think Petrox has just finished up on a run. He's in the Renault car today, replacing Christmas, who's just not made it out today. I'm trying to find someone who's on a lap. I think Wilson Hughes through the final sector at the moment. He's on the DRS straight. Got AlphaTauri just in front of him. That's either Recon or Will LG, but through the final sector, that's one of the longest straights on the calendar. Through now the final chicane, and he's just invalidated there, and he bashes the wall for good measure. But it's 1 and 2 for Gamer and Will LG. More laps coming out, but I'm noticing a lot of invalidations here.
Yeah, mate, that's something the drivers will be hoping to obviously get themselves out of their system before the race. Seen a few more drivers come along the line. Valters is now in 6th place. As you said, his teammate for tonight is VRT Petrox, who finished in 11th position last time around. Lots of invalidations. Blizzard, he's just coming through. Well, he's been through the first sector at the moment. 18.9 fastest first sector is currently CRG Gamer, and 18.7 for him. We'll quickly just going to run through some of the penalties that the drivers might have going into this race. So there was a penalty for Schumacher. He's got a 10-second time penalty the next time he races. He is not here today. And there was also a 5 seconds penalty for Hughes for pit lane entry. That is something that might be a problem here, but not for the drivers going over the line, as we see Blizzard taking that chicane. He's got Ash right in front of him here. He might have held him up slightly in the first part and probably give him a nice little boost down the straight for the second part. A 107.6 there for Blizzard. Going back to the penalties, Hughes got a 5-second penalty last time. Duncan got reported for a 5-second penalty as well, but in the end it was decided no further action. Anyone who's in the PSGL stewards office probably saw that report. You could barely even see Duncan's car, never mind whether he'd crossed the white line or not. It just shows that the drivers, they'll try anything to try and obviously gain that extra position and to try and get a penalty for their opponents.
Yeah, well, you miss every shot that you don't take, so I mean, you got to respect it at the end of the day. A couple more drivers through qualifying at the moment. Suso has just crossed into the final sector at the moment for the Williams team. Driver's been consistently in the points this season. I have noticed he's been very strong throughout this season, but he's not really picked up a top level position. Coming through the final sector, about to hit the final chicane. I believe turn number 14 this is. Really easy to validate. He goes right over the curve and running it as wide as possible to cross the line, keeping it the tightest to the right hand side to cross the line. And it is only 9th position for him in 8.0. Ash Best also completes a lap, going about 300 slower than Recon into 9th position. More drivers on runs at the moment. We've got Benjamin just about to come into the 3rd sector here, 40.2 through sector 2 here. This could be a really strong time for the young Dutchman. Now onto the DRS straight. You can see blinking red lights on the MFD for him. That could pose some issues on his cooldown lap, but through now he's got a yellow flag just in front of him. I believe that might have been one of the cars in front, just running out of fuel to go, flying over the chicane, really taken quickly for the Racing Point car to cross the line. It's going to be P5 there, slotting in just behind his teammate.
Yeah, not a bad lap there from Benjamin. You want to get as close to that wall as possible, obviously, coming through the Wall of Champions. I've seen it in other leagues where drivers have hit that wall and they've actually improved on their lap and just sacrifice that bit of front wing, and you need to stick to the right hand side all the way down the straight. It's not the fastest line for heading on to the next lap, but obviously on qualifying you're not bothered about the next lap, you're just bothered about that one lap you are on at the moment. Interestingly that you mentioned about the consistency of Suso. He is 9th in the championship, and I've just had a quick look. He's the only driver so far this season to have scored points in every race that he's competed in, but has yet to finish on the podium. Best finish was 4th in the first round of the season, so we'll see what he can do. But after the first few laps in the session, it is Gamer on top, Will in 2nd, Midnight in 3rd. 3 drivers who have yet to take a victory this season. Blizzard Benjamin Duncan is currently in 6th place. further down the order, obviously, Wilson Hughes, his big title rival, yet to set a lap time. And the later it goes into this session, yes, the track does improve, but you've almost got to take it a bit easier just to make sure that you get a valid lap time in.
Yeah, you can kind of go full send through the first part of qualifying and it won't really be an issue, but these guys, they do want to be a little bit more careful later on in the session. Petrox has managed to put in a second valid lap and he goes right to the top, a 107.4, and that was all made up in that second sector. Purple, a 21.1, brilliant time from the reserve driver here today. Another driver not to take a win in this season. He's not been here very long, coming up from F2, of course, now into the upper echelon of PSGL. More drivers completing runs at the moment. Someone who's not putting a lap at the moment is Young Power, currently in the second sector through one of the chicanes, running it on the exit. We'll see him coming through the second sector split now into the hairpin, and it is a pretty strong time from him so far, 40.1. This will put him certainly in the upper reaches of the top 10, maybe around about where Benjamin Blizzard is. That is certainly a possibility for him, but he's just backed off. Might not have been a good exit for the Italian man, and he's might be going for another lap. He'll be pushing once again. I think he will.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he does go for another lap. Obviously, being fairly short, it is possible to do that. Petrox has gone fastest. His teammate for tonight was fastest in Sector 1 and did set a personal best in Sector 2, and Valters has dived it straight into the pit lane. As I was saying that, but you can just see there how this pit lane entry can cause some issues, of course. If someone pulls in front of you, out after having DRS on you, for example, and they take the braking line for the chicane and you're going into the pits, it is very possible for there to be some collisions. And also, you have got that pit exit line there. The driver's being told not to put two wheels over that line under any circumstances. Mish has just gone into second place, actually, 107.545. Freshly joined Shazoo has Mish, winner earlier on in the season at Singapore. Another circuit that is quite tight, quite twisty, and the walls are never too far away, so maybe that's something to look for tonight from Mish. This isn't traditionally called a street circuit, but it does have a lot of the characteristics of a street track.
Yeah, it's very closed in, a lot of walls right next to the track, and not really any margin for errors. A certainly good time from Mish there, 107.5, and he's only a little bit ahead of Gamer, but that was enough to knock him off of the front row so far. I believe Gamer might actually be going for the start of a push lap, but some drivers currently finishing up on runs. Will LG in the AlphaTauri car, he's about 1.5 tenths up on his previous best time. He's already purple in Sector 3 on his fastest time of 107.5 so far. Through the final chicane comes the AlphaTauri driver, really abusing that inside curb. I've just noticed a little bit of front wing off to the side as well, but to cross the line, Will LG goes to the top, a 107.3, and that is a very strong final sector, a 27.2. What a time from Will.
What a time from Midnight, 107.166 from the Mercedes. Purple in the first two sectors goes fastest of everyone. The drivers now, they've got underneath that fastest time from early on. They are really starting to push. Blizzard, last week's winner, just gets it wrong going through the wall of champions. Almost a repeat of Kevin Magnussen, just stays far enough though away from the wall. He's going to have to stay in 7th position for now. His teammate Benjamin, best of anyone in Sector 1, personal best in Sector 2. Times are starting to come through thick and fast. We've seen Casper go up into 7th place. Benjamin can keep it just about clean. And as I say that, just tap the wall on the exit. That time would have been good enough to move him slightly further up the order. So, not really much margin for error here. And we are now starting to see a lot more improvements from these drivers. Wilson Hughes yet to set a time. He's purple in Sector 2. So this could well challenge Midnight Will. Jordan has gone up into 3rd place at the top of the order. What can the reigning champion do as he comes towards the line? Is it going to be good enough for provisional pole position? Not on this occasion, but it does put him into 2nd.
Yeah, Midnight just cut above the rest at the moment. 1.5 tenths clear of Wilson at the moment, and it was all really made up in that final sector for the young Mercedes driver. Really strong time from him. More drivers though completing up on runs at the moment. I believe Simo, he's not putting a run at the moment. He's in 18th and he has made it through so far on the lap through the final chicane. He's not purple in any of the sectors, but he at least is putting in a valid lap time. The Italian crossed the line, 7th position. That is actually quite respectable, ahead of his teammate as well. And what we'll be noticing is a lot of drivers pulling into the pit lane and then gearing up for their final runs. And I've just noticed actually Waters is 3/10 up on his previous best time. Purple through sector 2 as well to come through the final corner. Green flag waving just in front of him to clear road up ahead. Where's it going to put him on the grid? Just behind his teammate for tonight at 107.4.
Yeah, good lap from Walters. Hasn't had the best season so far. Only 5 points from the man who finished third in the championship last year. What can he do tonight? He'll be hoping that he can get himself a long way up the order. Petrox is improving slightly. He's a 10th up at the moment, so doesn't need to find too much, and he could get himself onto the front row of the grid here, the reserve driver. Oh, just invalidates and just manages to save it. I think that is new tyres and maybe some new underpants might be needed for that one as well. That was a massive moment.
Yeah, I believe that they call it Code Brown in the trade there, and I certainly think he will be needing he'll be needing to initiate that one there. A lot of drivers in the pit lane at the moment, but we do have one driver on a run at the moment. Fastest through sector 1 and a personal best through sector 2. It is Samuel Bean. He's not putting a time at the moment. The only driver who's been unable to actually put in a lap here through the final sector onto the long straightaway here. We'll see to cross the line. Is he going to stay out? He is going to stay out to complete this lap, and he has managed to keep it valid. So where is this going to put the Spaniard who started off the season so strong with a win in Bahrain, and it puts him second on the grid, edging closer to midnight, but still not breaking that 10th barrier?
No, good lap then by Samuel Bean there. Puts him up into second position. His first 2 races that he took part in were first and the second. The last 2 that he took part in have been 15th and 14th, so we'll have to see if he has found that form from the start of the season. But 3 minutes 40 remaining in this session. Midnight, Samuel Bean, Wilson, our top 3. Will up in 4th again. Jordan, who's missed a couple of races. He's missed the last 2, in fact. He is in 5th place. And importantly for the championship, Duncan down there in 13th. Really needs to find some pace in qualifying if he is to really... Well, the alternate strategy does work around here, because I suppose if you start outside the top 10, you might be able to go on 2 sets of softs rather than 2 sets of mediums, but it's nowhere near as powerful as it was last week.
Yeah, I think Duncan's probably going to try and opt to put it further up the grid than he did. He was 11th last week, and he managed to come all the way through the grid using that alternate strategy to its best effect and finish in second position. We'll see if he is going to be able to come out. He is not on a lap at the moment. He's just coming out the pit lane, I believe. Actually, that's his teammate Used, who's in 8th position at the moment, pulling out onto the circuit. But the first of the final runs is beginning. I think it's the AlphaTauri driver in 17th position, Recon. He's going to be the first one to put in his last run, potentially second last run. He's left quite a bit of a big buffer here. 2 minutes 30 actually left to go in this session. So possibly if he's kind of future-proofing himself, if he makes a mistake, he can go for a second run in a row.
Yeah, he can do indeed. If things go wrong early on, save yourself a bit of ERS, save the tyres. And even though it is a 2-stop, it's not like it's an extremely heavy tyre wear track. It's only 2 stops because you lose about 12 or 13 seconds in the pit lane compared to pretty much plus 20 at almost every other track on the calendar. As Ali Mondo has mentioned, former PSGL F1 commentator, 7 tenths between the top 18, and they are currently over 2 seconds faster now than what they managed in season 19 when Lickle Blocks took pole position on a 109.8. That just shows how much the track has evolved. Recon trying to get every single boost he can as Simo is just warming up his tyres there, getting ready for his run. You want to have the tyres nice and warm for that braking zone into turn 1. Of course, Recon hopped over the chicane. What's it going to be for him? Is he going to put him any further up the order? Does indeed. 9th position for him. I think he'll be very happy with that. Probably will drop outside the top 10. We'll just have to wait and see how things go. A lot of drivers on their hot laps now. Mish in 11th place. Slightly up, though, coming through the hairpin.
Yeah, Young Power's just put in a representative time into 5th position, but Mish at the moment only slightly up. Benjamin is actually purple behind him at the moment, directly on track. But through the final sector comes the prancing horse, the Scarlet Red Ferrari's got Gamer just in front of him, probably going to give him a little bit of a tow down the straightaway. He bashes the wall as Wilson Hughes goes to the top out of nowhere. Good time from him. Mish backed off right at the end. What about Benjamin? He's about 4 tenths up on his previous best time. He's in 17th position at the moment. To cross the line, it's P3 for the Dutch driver.
Yeah, things getting really close. Just got the end of that Wilson lap. Did see him and his teammate pretty close together. Midnight's purple in sector 2 again, just has a bit of a wobble coming out of turn 10. He's got that Mercedes dancing exactly how he wants it at the moment. What can he do? Can he find that extra bit of time to get himself on pole position, or did that little wobble coming through Sector 2 just cost him as close to the wall as you want to get there? As Gamers retired from the session, Midnight comes across the line, 107.018 for him. Gamers retired out on track, it seems, so 16th is the best he can do. In fact, I think Gamers had an accident coming through turn 9.
Yeah, I believe that he has lost that car there, and that is swiftly going to put an end to his qualifying down in at least 17th position. I'm looking at some more drivers finishing up on runs. Everyone's invalidating at this point. The clock has struck 0, as one thing I've noticed, Duncan is far down on his time at the moment, and this will put him plumb lost right at the bottom of the grid if he can't find everything in the final sector. And just for good measure, he invalidates that lap, and well, that is everything over for him. More drivers, I don't believe, are on runs. That is meaning that Midnight will be on pole position, Wilson in second, Used in third, but I think the big shock has got to be Duncan all the way down in 19th position.
Yeah, championship leader down in 19th. The man second in the championship is second. So, with how close the points are between them, if they finish where they start, that is 1 point Wilson will be leading at the end of the night. Casper is on a hot lap then. He's not improving, and he is invalidated. So, 2 BSR drivers down at the back in Casper and Duncan, 18 and 19. But it is Midnight. We said watch out for him. We said he's been looking good over the last few races. Fastest of everyone. 107.018, but Wilson Hughes alongside him in second, Used in third. Looks like it's all set up to be a fantastic race.
Absolutely, and well, if Midnight carries on like this, then we'll be seeing 7 different winners in 7 Grand Prix. I'm not going to try and jinx it right now. He has got a pretty good chance to win, but that is not going to be without struggle. He's got some of the fastest guys on the F1 game right behind him. Wilson in second, only about half a tenth off of the pole man, so he is certainly one to look out for on the start. Used as well right behind him, and another hot prospect in Benjamin, who's going to be hungry for his first win in this season. So Midnight, although he looks really impressive right now, he cannot count his chickens before they hatch.
Yeah, looked impressive last week, just missing out on a podium, of course. He gets pole here today. Reigning champions Wilson is in second, Used third, Benjamin fourth, Samuel Bean in fifth. Can Will LG get his first points from 6th position? Young Power, Jordan, Petrix and Walters round out the top 10. Recon, he starts 11th. He'll be on that alternate strategy along with Simo, Ashbest, Blizzard, Suso, Mish, Gamer who crashed out, Casper, and most importantly, our championship leader, Duncan, way down there in 19th position. Even if the alternate strategy is powerful around here, there's 8 other cars in front of you that are also going to be on that same strategy. He's going to have to do something special. To even get a good point score here is going to require something special.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for him to come back in this one. And I'm proud to say that we do have nice sunny blue skies, not a cloud in sight, which suggests that we are going to have a nice dry race right to the finish. And that is really what we want, because the rain, as much as it brings some excitement, it just doesn't really make for good racing. So I think all the drivers as well who haven't practiced in the rain, most likely, I think they're going to be very glad to see that they're going to be on slick tyres today.
Yeah, it is going to be slick tyres, so possibly expect to see that 2-stop. You can see there, soft, medium. Maybe if you do start outside the top 10, you might be able to do medium, soft, depending on how careful you are on the tyres. And of course, this whole strategy depends on when we get any safety cars. Alimonda saying that he's going to have to do a Cliffy special, is Duncan, and then Cliffy turned up in the chat. 3 wins in a row he's had at this circuit, but I feel that's a bit like Beetlejuice. If someone says your name you only have to say his name once and he seems to pop up, which is quite impressive indeed. And let's have a look at the track that faces the drivers tonight. The Circuit Gilles Villeneuve on the Ile Notre Dame on the St. Lawrence River. 2.710 miles on this man-made island. 3 DRS zones, 14 corners, and that final corner, turn 13 and turn 14, has seen plenty of incidents over the years. Let's have a look at the tyres everyone has gone for. Interestingly, few drivers have gone for the hard tyres. So Mish and Gamer clearly planning on going quite long. Clearly, I think putting their eggs in the one-stop basket.
Yeah, that might not be the smartest decision, but maybe it can pay off being on the alternate strategy to all the drivers around you. At least they'll get some clear air once they come into the pit lane, and they'll have fresher tyres towards the end. They'll be on the mediums, I would expect. So this could be a strong strategy for them. And of course, they don't have to make that extra pit stop, so they'll have that 12-second buffer. Whether they can hold on to the drivers around them, that remains to be seen. But they also, of course, got to get around the circuit without any damage of being mired right down at the back of the order. It's going to be very tricky to do, especially with the very short run down in towards turn number 1. There's not really an opportunity for the drivers to space out through there.
Yeah, there's not indeed. It's just it's quite interesting. We've got a McLaren and a Alfa Romeo at the front of the field, so Used can maybe do Duncan a favour, and Gamer's only 2 places ahead of Duncan. So on those hard tyres, if the Alfa Romeo can't get past him, he'll be staying out on track quite long and could prove to be quite the frustration for our championship leader, who is going to have to do something pretty mighty, I think, to retain the championship lead tonight, unless, of course, something happens up to Wilson out in front. We'll have to wait and see. But Midnight, pole position for the first time this season. Then he just slots into his grid slot, the 5th different man to take pole position in 7 races. Will he become the 7th different winner in 7 races? What can Duncan do in his damage limitation job from 19th on the grid? Get ready, people. This is going to be 35 absolutely scintillating laps here in Canada as we wait for the lights to come on here to get the race underway. We've got 5 lights and they're off here in Canada. What are the starts like? Midnight straight away getting a pretty good start there. It's been a nightmare from Wilson. Used already alongside on the run down towards turn 1. There's contact between them there. And Used and Wilson are going to continue wheel banging, I think, all the way coming through turn 2 as well. But the Alfa Romeo just comes out ahead. It's Midnight in the lead of this race. Used, Wilson. I think that's Samuel being in behind as well. Him and Benjamin fairly close together. Young Power not having too bad of a start either from him as the timing screen now sorts itself out, and doesn't look like anyone's been in any trouble on the first lap. Duncan having a fantastic start as well. He's got himself up into 16th. You can see the cars going nearly 3 wide up ahead. Blizzard, Simo and Ash Best down the inside goes last week's race winner. Simo has to take to the runoff area ever so slightly then. Might get himself a warning for that, and now he's got Ash Best all over the back of him as well. The Red Bull Podium earlier on in the season at round 1 of the season at Bahrain Short, just now in 13th position. But it is Midnight in the lead of this race. A dream start for him. Wilson just looked having too much wheel spin, bogged down, and that allowed Used to get ahead.
Yeah, and of course, Midnight stretching the gap already to about 0.8 of a second. Ash Best and Simo having a little bit of a scrap, and unfortunately, Ash Best has lost it there. Sorry, I'm getting informed. This would have completely declined that there as well. Yeah, that's completely thrown me off. But everyone did get clean through on lap number 1, which is going to be crucial for their races.
Yeah, it is indeed crucial. Like you said, that happens. I think there's some more battling happening down there. Casper getting ahead of Gamer, unsurprisingly, out of those that have had fairly clean races. The hard tyre runners are last at the moment. Gamer 17th, Mish 18th, Ashen Gain involved in a lap 1 incident, but at least this time he didn't pick up any damage as he did on the first lap last time when he sort of got murdered, I think it's fair to say, by Schumacher on the run down towards turn 3. But Midnight still in the lead of this race, and Used in second, Wilson third, trying to hang on to these guys at the moment. Samuel Bean in 4th, and we're going to get that DRS train that we see so many times here at Canada. All 19 cars are within a second of each other.
Yeah, of course, the only driver not to be getting the benefit of DRS is the man leading the race at the moment. It is Midnight, right at the sharp end of the order. He's got a healthy gap to Used, and he's almost pulled away so that he's not gonna be in DRS range of the Mercedes car. So certainly, Midnight taking control early on. He's almost stretched it to that 1 second window that he needs, and Used gonna be caught in a bit of no man's land at the moment if he loses that DRS, because he's about to drop Wilson as well, who's just not really made too much of the start. Certainly the top 4 very sparsely spread, and then of course when you get into the midfield, that is where everything kind of comes together, a bit like a concertina. But coming through, lap number 3 has begun, so the DRS is now active. The closest gap on circuit seems to be between Blizzard and Recon, and I think given their performances so far this season, the pace is quite different between the pair of them, as yeah, he's not close enough to go for a move this time by, and I certainly think that it's going to be very difficult for these guys to even make a move in this train.
Yeah, it is indeed. One thing that might be interesting to look at is Midnight's definitely been pushing hard early on. He has got a bit more tyre wear on his front tyres than Hughes behind him. And now that he hasn't been able to break that 1 second gap, as Wilson, that is an aggressive undercut here. Wilson and Samuel Bean into the pits. They've noticed straight away they're in a DRS train. They're not really going to gain anything, even if they feel like they're faster. Mediums going on to Wilson, so that is a definite two-stop strategy. I imagine it'll be the same for Samuel Bean. Now they come out in free air. This could really put the cat amongst the pigeons.
That is actually not a bad call from them, because you can take the tyres, the medium tyres, 17 laps in this Grand Prix, so they can make it to the end on the two-stop. They will have a disadvantage given the tyre wear towards the end of their stints, but this is very, very clever from them to get this undercut and especially get the clear airs. Already the first time penalty coming out of the day, and who else but Midnight leading the race. Well, I think he's been pushing, but he's been pushing a bit too hard. And with the pit drivers making their pit stops, it's opened a bit of a chasm between the top two and the rest of the grid. This could open the door for Young Power to potentially go for a move at some point. He's using up some of his overtake at the beginning of the straight just to get that little bit of an extra boost on towards Benjamin, but he's not close enough to go for a move into the chicane. There seems like there's been a move actually further back behind. It is Benjamin's teammate as Midnight's into the pits as well. These guys do not want anything to do with these soft tyres, and only two of them have actually stayed out on circuit, Used and Benjamin. And certainly I was not expecting this one.
No, they're not. I think we're trying to see here if Midnight had been in a bit of trouble there in the pit lane, because we know what it can be like being in the Mercedes, but he comes out of the pits. Where is Wilson? He's already heading around turn 1 at the moment, but the way turn 2 feeds out here, Midnight has just managed to retain the net lead of this race, but he does have that 3-second time penalty, of course. Now, if you're Used, do you get rid of your soft tyres now, or do you try and stretch them a bit longer? Accept you'll be slower, but be in a better situation at the end of the race. Very interesting to see what the drivers will go for. Blizzard, he's the lead car on those mediums. 3rd place at the moment. Recon 4th behind him. Suso, Simo, Duncan, Casper, Gamer, and Ash Best there. Duncan up into 7th place. It's been probably as good a start to the race as he could have hoped for. Up 12 positions. Suso, Casper up 10. Blizzard up 11. Obviously the pit stops have had a massive say in what has happened there. Both of the Renault drivers coming into the pits on the same laps there, and Volta's going onto a set of hard tyres. That is interesting as Houston Benjamin now come into the pits. That promotes Blizzard into the lead.
And I think that'll probably mean, given that Wilson was so close to the back of Midnight after his undercut, which is so powerful around this circuit, you'd have to think that Hughes is going to get jumped by the McLaren car as well, coming through to begin the lap number 6 of the Grand Prix. Hughes just pulling out the pit lane here, and look at that, Wilson and Samuel Bean jumping the Alfa Romeo car. So it probably wasn't worth staying out that little bit longer in the Grand Prix, because he's now lost 2 positions in the net, of course. So down in 13th, he has got the fresher tyres, and he can at least have that little bit of headroom towards the end of the Grand Prix, but at what cost? Because it's going to be so difficult to make an overtake in the DRS train here.
Yeah, it is indeed, and I wonder now whether Wilson's got himself back up into a net 2nd place after starting in 2nd. Is he going to go for a move on Midnight, or is he going to be quite happy at the moment, just staying in behind, maybe saving yourself a bit of ERS? There are a lot of heavy braking zones on this circuit, even though there is a lot of long straights as well, so ERS sort of balances itself out in the end in terms of management. Or will Wilson feel the need to go for this move? He is using the DRS, he's not close enough to really go for one here into turn number 1, and you see Samuel Bean and Hughes not really close enough behind either, and of course stuck in this DRS train. Not a lot they can do at the moment in time. Further up the field though, Blizzard still leading this race, Recon in 2nd position. The only slight problem maybe for those that have pitted early on is because of how short the pit lane is, they'll be catching up to Mish in the next, what, 2 or 3 laps?
They're going to have that traffic in front of them. It's going to make it very difficult to kind of stretch the advantage that they have of the undercut on the drivers like Blizzard, Recon, and Suso right at the front of the grid at the moment, especially Blizzard. He's probably going to be a bit of a dark horse in this Grand Prix on that alternate strategy to the net leaders at the moment. I'd expect Wilson probably not to go for the move on Midnight. I think Midnight is actually pushing quite a bit harder, at least not with his ERS. He's doing really well to actually save his ERS, 80% in that Mercedes engine, whereas only about 65 for the McLaren car as well. So these guys are going to be saving up their energy. I don't think they want to burn out their tyres too early on in this Grand Prix, and they'll probably try and just settle into a bit of a rhythm here.
Yeah, they will indeed. Wilson, again, nearly dropping outside of a second. So Midnight I think trying what he did in the first stint, just pushing as hard as possible. That's why he's got the penalties, but if you can't quite break that 1 second window, you can see Wilson's just able to use the DRS to catch up. Now, depending on when Midnight and the rest catch Mish, could be really interesting here. They catch him at the DRS though, is absolutely perfect for them to fly by because Mish doesn't have the DRS. They catch him in this middle part of the circuit, they could lose quite a bit of time being stuck behind him. So traffic management, as it is around a lot of circuits, absolutely crucial here at Canada. Out in the front of the race though, Blizzard, he's beginning to escape slightly. 1.5 seconds he is now ahead of Recon, and this might give Suso a chance to attack the AlphaTauri.
I think Blizzard, though, he's having his own issue. He's got a bit of wing damage on that car. It doesn't seem to be visible, but 19% on the front right, and you can see he is losing time to Recon, but I don't think that's going to matter for the case of Suso because he's just going to go for it, blitzing it down on the straightaway. He doesn't even need to use his ERS here, so he's going to take second position on track. Though further back, Midnight closing up to the back of Mish, and this could have been the perfect position for him to catch because he is now ahead without any trouble at all. Into the chicane, he is comfortably ahead of Mish. I wonder if Mish is actually going to try and fight this here with Wilson. Maybe have that Shazoo partnership between the pair of them. I wouldn't like to see it, that is for sure, but it is likely that will happen.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Interesting point here from Kuhn that I did think about for a split second when I saw drivers on the hard tyres. Rain possible at the end of the race? It would make that strategy make a bit more sense, maybe going to the hards to see if you can just last out there until you need intermediates.
That does make a bit of sense, and from at the beginning of the Grand Prix it was completely blue sky, clouds beginning to build, so it is possible that we will see rain at some point in the end. Well, if it's scheduled, then we will 100% see it, but when that happens is the question, because those hard tyres I think can go about 30 laps if I'm not mistaken in this Grand Prix, and then they'll be completely shot. You'll be in puncture territory and you'll have completely no pace whatsoever, as Blizzard actually pulls into the pit lane here pretty early for him. I wonder what tyres that Racing Point car will go on to, and if he's going to get that wing changed as well. He is indeed going to get his front wing replaced, and it's hard tyres for the Racing Point car. Meanwhile, as I think Mish, he's really just not having a good time over here. He's lost 3 positions in about 2 corners there.
No, he's not. Yeah, Sam, you're being getting ahead of him. We saw Wilson getting ahead of Newst, I think, trying to jump the pair of them. But that period where Mish, he wasn't defending extremely hard. It's not like he had to do anything to hold up Wilson. He's allowed Midnight to get a 1.6 second lead at the moment. The problem is now for Midnight, he's onto the back of those, just ahead of him. We might see some rain at the end. It was forecast at 45 minutes. The Canadian Grand Prix takes a bit less than 45 minutes. So this could be a scenario where on the final few laps of the race, drivers are on very worn, dry tyres, and we could be seeing some rain coming down. And if you've not got any penalties, even if you have got any penalties, you're going to be skating around the track trying to make sure that you don't get any more, of course. Blizzard's come out in last position. It is now Suso in the lead of this race. Recon second, Simo third, Duncan up in fourth, Casper, Ash, Gamer. As we see there, Recon comes into the pit. Simo gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That's the second one we've seen in this race. And what tyres is Recon going to go for? He's going for another set of the medium tyres. So he's guaranteed that he has to come into the pits again, no matter what it does with the weather.
Yeah, of course, he has started on the set of the mediums, and he's gone on to another set of mediums, which means you have to, of course, use at least 2 compounds of tyres in this race. And, well, he'll be coming out just behind his Shazoo compatriot of Waters, who is on the hard tyres. Interestingly enough, he won't have to make another pit stop, I would expect, in this Grand Prix, as more traffic being caught by Midnight, and this might actually pose a bit more of an issue to him. Never mind, he's just going to go sailing right up the inside of Gamer in towards the hairpin. I wonder if the McLaren car is going to fight this one back here. His teammate's not too far back at this point as well, and possibly he could hold him up. No, he's not going to try and fight it, not risk any wing damage. At least good respect shown by Gamer, and I think Wilson, he'll be catching him at a rate of knots, and given the fact that he is his teammate, he's not going to put up any fight whatsoever.
No, he's not. I think if Wilson does get behind Gamer on the next lap, which he should do, Gamer's going to have to let him by and then see if he can hold up some of those behind him. Simo was closing up to the back of Suso. We are on to lap 12 of this race, and Suso, Simo, Duncan your top three. Recon does get ahead of Volters then. Jordan and Young Power going side by side. And I think we just caught Jordan almost drifting his way round turn one. Winner of the Austrian Grand Prix gets himself up into 13th place in the Sowell Haas tonight. That is currently a net 7th position, I believe, for the VSR man. See if he can work his way up the order. Has kept it clean in this race so far, but he's got Benjamin and Mish ahead of him. Mish doing a fantastic job at the moment of just, he's not intentionally getting in the way, but I think as him and Gamer have proved, there's absolutely no pace on these hard tyres on a full load of fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just really difficult to get the temperature in them. Of course, they have less grip than the medium tyres, and you got to respect him for this. He has no obligation to let the other cars by. He is racing them. He's on the lead lap at the moment. They're on lap 12. We're about to begin lap number 13. It is well and truly into the swing of things as Benjamin sails right on by, and that was to be expected with the DRS. Mish not going to fight it at all, as I think Jordan also might try and overtake. Of course, they share the DRS detection zone, the start-finish straight and the back straightaway, and Jordan going to go right up the inside into the first corner. So 2 laps, 2 overtakes for the Haas car, and he might try and make it 3 onto the back of Benjamin. We'll just have to see in the next couple of laps. Because of Mish holding up that train, there's 2.7 seconds between Used and Benjamin at this point.
Oh, Jordan there just tapped the wall coming out of turn number 5. I think he's just got away without any major damage, and looking at this, he's got away without any damage whatsoever. The entire field very clean at the moment in terms of not having any damage, so that is good to see. Midnight also getting ahead of Ashbest, so he's now got 2 cars in between himself and Wilson, but Wilson you'd expect will be sailing past his teammate fairly soon. But you've got Samuel being used in the background. It's going to be pretty tough here. If Gamer wants to try and help Wilson out here, he's got to try and let him by and not let Samuel being used by as well, which might prove to be fairly difficult. Here comes Wilson down the inside, and Gamer just lifted off the throttle ever so slightly. Ash gets himself a time penalty there as well. Simo comes into pit, and I think Gamer, he played the pit teammate role absolutely perfectly there.
Yeah, it was really well executed. Of course, there are no rules in PSGL for teaming up together in the race. Of course, in qualifying, you can't utilise slipstream between teammates, but it has allowed for Gamer to really show that he is respectful of Wilson, and Wilson, of course, showing the respect to themselves, to Gamer as well. Those two really good friends, and of course, former CRG teammates. Samuel Bean going to try and fight with with Gamer here in the McLaren car, but because Gamer just about held on to the 1 second gap that you need to Wilson, to the car in front, he's been able to hold on to that one. I still think he will have DRS, so I think those hard tyres, they're probably coming into their own at this point in the race, as wear is applied to the medium tyres. Those hards, they're not wearing at the same rate, and they're still going to have a bit more grip than those mediums. So certainly he could be on for a race with these guys, but I wonder if it is all going to come crashing down as Wilson just in front of him, going to make the move on Ashbest. It's all gone into the back of him. Did Ashbest there. Big wing damage, and you have to be careful of that. You have to expect Wilson to move onto the racing line. He's gone into the back of him, 63% on the right side of his front wing, and that is surely a wing change for Ashbest there.
Yeah, it is indeed. There's always something to watch out for. We said earlier on, if you get overtaken and you're planning to come into the pits, the other car takes the racing line, you can easily see those incidents. Recon gets himself a 3-second time penalty. Midnight has worked his way past Casper. Duncan has jumped out the way as well by coming into the pit, so it's now only Suso between Midnight and the lead of this race. Casper is in 3rd. Wilson in 4th. Gamer in 5th on a set of hard tyres that are now pretty much identical tyre wear to those on the medium. So the mediums will still have a tiny bit of a pace advantage, but not much else at the moment, and that will start just coming towards the hard tyres, as you can see by the fact that Gamer's just about hanging onto the back of Wilson at this moment in time. Used, Benjamin, Jordan, Young Power, Samuel being in 6th. They are your top 10 at the moment. Mish, Will, Recon, Simo, Duncan, Volters, Petrux, Blizzard, and Ashbest, who's in last place now, obviously, after that big wing change. Just Suso, Casper, and Gamer and Mish yet to pit, as Samuel Bean goes flying past Gamer there. Lap 15 of the race. We've still got all 19 runners, and there's still clouds in the sky at the moment. They're not looking threatening at the moment, but there's definitely a lot more than there were at the start of the race, as Midnight has taken the lead of this race.
Yeah, absolutely, though. Clouds have been building up just gradually over the course of this Grand Prix, and, well, given the fact it was completely blue skies. About half a race ago on the formation lap, it is now certain. It is looking like the rain will be coming before the end of the Grand Prix. Will LG picking up a 3-second time penalty, making it another driver, I believe the 7th different driver to actually pick up a time penalty on track, as Casper, he gets a time penalty as well, make that 8 drivers picking up a penalty. So they're really struggling at this point. I would expect some more drivers to pick up penalties in this race, whoever that is, not too sure. But now, beginning lap 17, next time by, we're going to cross over into the halfway stage of the Grand Prix. I'd expect Suso probably to start to think about his pit stop very soon. He's going to stay out at least one more lap on the set of the medium tyres he's on, as well as Casper. So these guys are really opting for the aggressive strategy, taking the stint long, and they'll be a lot quicker towards the end of the Grand Prix, maybe just trying to do a one-stop until that rain period comes, as Will LG into the pit lane. He'll be the first of the drivers to make his second pit stop in this race, I believe.
Yeah, second pit stop, going for that undercut that we saw work so well earlier on onto a set of the medium tyres. He will come out roughly just behind Ash Best at the moment, down in 19th place. The fact that Suso and Casper are going so long on these tyres, if they go onto another set of mediums, I think that says that there is going to be some rain towards the end of the race, because we're now getting towards the point where you can probably take 2 softs towards the end of the race fairly comfortably. You'd only have to do 9 laps on each one, and that gets a lot easier as the fuel starts to wear down, of course. But it's still Midnight leading, Suso in second, Casper in third, those drivers yet to pit. So Wilson in a net second place at the moment. He's just about hovering around the penalty range. You can see there, 2.95 seconds. You can't get much closer to being within 3 seconds at this moment in time. He is within the DRS of Casper this time around. Will we see the Mercedes dive into the pits? We will indeed. He will still keep the DRS, of course. There is only one detection point for these 2 straights here, so even if you make them a move into the final chicane, you will still have the DRS to just help you defend. There we go, Casper going onto the hard tyres. Probably the safe strategy, if what we're being told is true. If it doesn't rain, you don't have to come into the pits again anyway. You've changed both your types of tyres. If it does rain, you'll comfortably get these towards the end, towards the near of the end of the race, and you don't have to worry about any tyre wear.
Yeah, I think Casper's just trying to minimise the amount of pit stops that he has to make at this point, because if he went onto a set of the medium tyres, then he would have, of course, and the rain didn't come, he'd have had to have gone onto probably a set of softs, I'd say. So, yeah, I think it is smart to go onto the hard tyres, even though it probably is a bit later than he could have. He's got to work with the cards that he's been dealt with, as I think at this point in the Grand Prix, drivers are really starting to enter a bit of a detente period where they just don't really want to attack each other, because they know that the rain is coming and it will spice things up later on in the race, as I do believe we could actually see maybe a move at some point, because he's closing up to the back of Gamer. I don't think he's close enough now. As Samuel Bean, the top 3, I believe, all 3 coming in. I tell a lie, because Midnight has stayed out, but Suso, Wilson Hughes, and Young Power, a lot of drivers coming into the pit lane here. There's a lot of activity. I wonder if drivers are going to get held, and I think that's what's going to happen, because Samuel Bean, he's having to wait agonisingly in the pit stop. It's only a couple of seconds there, but it feels like a lifetime when you're in that cockpit, and that is a huge loss for the Spaniard in this race. Double stacking is not a thing on F1 2020, and I think that is well, that is evident of that.
Yeah, Petrux, he's left for session. I think that's the second time we've seen a double stack for the Renault, so we're seeing the virtues of communication here. Do not double stack on F1. It does not work whatsoever. Wilson then still behind Suso, although this time Suso has got fresher tyres to fight with, of course, and I think this might give Hughes a chance to get ahead of Gamer as well, because that McLaren did have the DRS off his teammate and those cars up ahead of him, and this is the first time that Hughes has been able to attack him with only him having the DRS. Is Gamer going to defend this? No, not much point at the moment, and I think he knows that. Let's Hughes by. Who goes up into second place for now? Midnight comes into the pits. Hughes as well. Jordan and Benjamin side by side into the pit lane, and Jordan gets ahead and manages to get it slowed down in time as well. Is Midnight going to get held? No, he's not, so he's out on circuit. I think he did just have to slow down a tiny bit there. He was far enough ahead, though, of Wilson for the undercut not to be an issue. So that's now Gamer in the lead of this race. Still yet to pit, despite the fact that some of the drivers have now pitted twice out on circuit. He's the only car that has yet to come into the pits. Simo in second, Recon third, Duncan and Blizzard fifth, fourth and fifth. Casper is in 6th with his teammate just behind him. And you can see there, just getting held in the pit lane, just having that undercut, Suso and Wilson right on the back of the Mercedes.
Yeah, Suso really opting for the aggressive strategy. He started on a set of the medium tyres and now he's on another set. So if the rain doesn't come, then his race is completely over. It's a podium or nothing for the Spaniard, which he's not been able to capture so far this season. So why not go for it here in Canada? As Casper with a bad run through the chicane. That's going to invite Suso to go for the move. Coming into the hairpin. Casper wants to fight this one though. This is for position and neither of these guys, oh actually Suso is obligated to box again, but Casper is going to the end on this set and he's going to get him on the exit. Does Suso, and I'd expect Wilson Hughes to come at him down the straightaway using up his overtake. Casper about to enter the reach of the blinking red light, which means his ERS power is going to be effectively halved at this point. Midnight further up ahead, he makes the move on Blizzard, who is on 10-lap old hard tyres. I don't believe he actually will have to stop again in this Grand Prix, but here comes Wilson up the inside into the first corner. He's going to make the move on Casper. Is it going to be around the outside? Casper fighting this with all his might, but Wilson Hughes, the difference in grip that those medium tyres have, it is monumental, and it has been completely detrimental for Casper because he is now shuffled down into 9th position here.
Breaking news here at the Canadian Grand Prix. It is officially overcast according to the TAS system, and those clouds are looking a lot greyer than they were. Like you said, Suso, he's put it all on red here. He needs it to rain in this race, otherwise he's going to have to come into the pits again for not that long on a set of soft tyres. Wilson gets himself a time penalty. That could be huge news because Suso and Hughes have kept it clean. Jordan has kept it clean as well. He's now on the same amount of penalties as Midnight ahead of him. We're going to get the gap to the leader here just to give you a clue what is happening with all the different strategies that everyone are on. Suso's going to come flying now past round the outside of Blizzard. The Racing Point does have the DRS, but he's going to have to just give up that position. So Suso up into 6th place, and if it does rain, you say Suso's almost in the net lead of this race.
Absolutely, but we still do have drivers out on the circuit that can make it to the rain period if it does come. We've got Duncan in 4th position from last place. He's on 7 laps at the moment on those mediums. If the rain does come, then he'll go on to the set of the intermediates, be perfectly fine. These guys at the moment, Simo, Recon and Duncan, they've gone all or nothing. They've gone 2 sets of medium tyres, so they're really backing themselves into a corner, but they could be in the best position towards the end. But Gamer, I'd say he is probably the strongest out of everyone at the moment, even though he's on 21 lap old hard tyres. They can still make it probably to a rain period. They can go about maybe 30 laps, and his highest wear at the moment is 59 on the rear left, so it's going to be pretty difficult for him at this point in the Grand Prix to get grip, but certainly he still can make it.
And I think the commentator's curse there almost in action. He comes into the pits. I wonder whether this will be for a set then of the soft tyres. Oh no, it's going to be a set of the medium, so they will comfortably get in towards the end. He will be extremely quick. I was about to say Gamer could probably go another 6 or 7 laps before reaching puncture territory, so didn't really have to worry too much about that in his near future. It is now Simo, Recon and Duncan, 3 drivers who, if it stays dry, will have to come into the pits again, as will Suso in 5th position. If not, they might be looking very, very clever at this moment in time. We'll just have to wait and see how things go. Gamer, that shows you how close the field is. We said it's only a short pit lane here. Gamer, 17th place after his pit stop. Yes, he's on fresh tyres, but he's in the mother of all DRS trains. I think all the way from Midnight to Gamer is one DRS train at the moment. He's going to find it hard to use those fresh tyres.
Yeah, he's just about to pick up DRS on Mish. He has got the fresher tyres than the rest of the cars around him, but as you say, it's going to be difficult for him to really take advantage of that. I think Mish is going for the move up the inside of Will LG into the hairpin. Moves also being made further up the order as Young Power trying to fight with Casper at the moment. They're all getting their elbows out in the Grand Prix here, and there it is, they're wheel to wheel coming down the straightaway into the chicane. Young Power with the inside line and the later brakes, especially on those medium tyres. He gets into 10th position and into a point paying position, but he has got Benjamin behind him, who hasn't got a penalty in this race. One of only few drivers actually at this point, so full credit to him.
Yeah, I think 8 out of the 19, unless my maths mistake. Maybe we'll see how many that is by the end of the race, especially, like we said, if we start getting rain on lap 33, 34 of this race, you're not going to come in for a set of the intermediates and you're going to be sliding around on your older tyres. But Young Power has made that move as he tries to get onto the back of Jordan then, who is putting Blizzard under massive pressure at this moment in time. But the Racing Point has kept it clean, and he's still within DRS range. Samuel Bean gets ahead of Ash, and Will LG managed to stay ahead of Mish then in all of that. He's still on the back of these cars, and you can see now Gamer has caught onto the back of this train. Valter's down in 18th, hasn't worked out for him. Jordan down the inside at the hairpin, gets the move done, and of course he'll have the DRS to just help him escape, as that detection point is a long way before the turning point for turn 10. Mish getting ahead of Will as well, and Ash fairly low on DRS, so this could be two moves in the space of about two corners here. Mish all the way around the outside. He's going to have to go here on Ash Best. The Red Bull still there. Mish has to cut the chicane in the end. Surely that's going to have to be an illegal overtake.
Yeah, I don't think that was the nicest move of Mish to make there. He completely cut the corner, and there's Will LG going right to the outside line of Ash Best. And if you're wondering how Mish was able to get that position so easily on the two drivers, it's actually because Will LG went for a bit of a Hail Mary dive bomb in towards the hairpin. He tried to go for the knockout blow, and it just didn't pay off, and he actually tapped Ash Best. The door just completely shut in his face, and then yeah, they both lost a lot of time. I don't think either of them got any damage, so at least that is helpful. No, neither of them actually picked up any wing damage, but it did allow for the momentum of Mish to really just plow right through them and pick up the position, and that is quite a bit of time has been spread out between the train and Samuel Bean.
And he's been able to keep the position as well. Like, I know FIA track limits can be a bit inconsistent, but like, come on game, there's no debate how many wheels were over the white line there. Now, we've just seen, I think Young Power's managed to make his way past Blizzard, so Blizzard's starting to drop on those older hard tyres after coming in earlier on, looking like the king of the alternate strategy. Looks like he's going to struggle to get any points no matter what happens in this race. Young Power up into 9th place. A gap forming between Eust and Wilson. That gap is now 2 seconds. That's good news for Wilson with the penalty. Bad news for Eust is 12% damage on that right side end plate. Whether it's just clouted the wall coming out of one of these chicanes, it's not a lot of damage, but it does seem to be affecting him. And he's also fairly low on his ERS.
Pushing this Grand Prix really to just keep in touch with Wilson at this point. He is about 1.5 seconds off the back of him. His VSR compatriot of Jordan is behind at the moment, and I think that is probably the driver that Wilson's got to watch out more for, because he hasn't got any wing damage. Well, fingers crossed he doesn't pick up any, but yeah, he's also without a penalty, so he's certainly going to be posing a threat to the McLaren car at this point. The rain just looks like it's pending at the moment. Duncan is closing up to the back of Recon. These guys can't really afford to fight because their tyres are kind of on the limits at the moment. As Midnight, that's crucial. He's picked up another 3-second time penalty. And the rain has begun here in Canada. I've just seen it kind of begin to fall ever so slightly. We have got the start of a downpour here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
This has just got very, very interesting indeed. The gamble for Simo, Recon, Duncan and Suso looks like it might have just come off here. Rain at the Canadian Grand Prix. How close will the cars behind them get to them? You can see Midnight is already within DRS range of Duncan and will have that next time around. Is Duncan going to try and make his move on Recon? Midnight's chances of a victory pretty much going out of the window there now that he has got that extra time penalty. Suso behind him has got 2 warnings. Houston and Jordan have also got 2 warnings as well, so they're not too far off possibly getting a penalty. Recon a bit deep into turn number 10. Is that going to give Duncan a chance? But with it starting to rain, when you're using the ERS coming out of the corner on all the tyres, you're getting yourself a bit of wheel spin. He is closing in at a rate of knots, so he's going to have to go the long way around. I don't think there's anything Recon can do about this. Duncan takes 2nd position, and Wilson makes his way past Suso as well. That could be big news for later on. Wilson up into 5th.
Yeah, and it is not all over at the moment because Midnight has caught the pair fighting for 2nd position, and you can see the difference in grip that it makes. It's harder to get temperature into the tyres when the track is cooling down like it is, and when you're on the older tyres like Recon, he's been on this set for 17 laps. They're already at the limit. It's going to be so difficult for him to actually generate heat into tyres and really take advantage of the exit speed off the corners. You can just see the difference between himself and Midnight. He'd be wise to give this one up because he's never got a shot. He's got no chance in the world of fighting with the Mercedes car. He's now back up into a podium position, but of course, with an extra 3-second time penalty to his rivals behind him, that could all come crashing down at the end of the race. Duncan about 3.2 seconds back from Simo as another 3-second time penalty coming out for Will LG. That's 6 seconds now applied to his race. Lap 28 here. I wonder when the intermediate conditions will hit.
We'll have to see. Simo deciding to carry on another lap. It doesn't look like it at the moment. We'll get what their lap times were this time around from Simo, Duncan and some of the others. Only a few tenths slower than they were the lap before. 1 minute 12 at the moment as Midnight down the inside of Duncan takes that position then. Midnight up into second place. Duncan now down to third. Ash gets himself a penalty. Will, he's a long way down the field. He's got all sorts of penalties. You might as well risk this. Nothing to lose from 17th. First man on that set of the intermediate tyres. He will come out in 18th and effectively last position. The rain is coming down here. As things stand at the moment, if they all had to come into the pits this lap, it is looking very good for Simo as Wilson now gets his way past Recon as well. And for the first time this race, the two championship rivals are close to each other on track, fighting for position soon. We didn't expect this after they started 2nd and 19th.
Absolutely. Duncan, he's just really nailed it with the strategy so far, provided it does go to the intermediate conditions. If it doesn't, he is obliged to go onto a set of the softs, so he has to pit in this Grand Prix. Theoretically, guys like Midnight and Wilson, those two don't have to pit in this race if they didn't want to. It might be wise to go onto a set of the intermediates if the conditions call for it, but if they don't, they are plain sailing to the end of the race. So Duncan, I still think he is on the back foot at this point. If the intermediate weather conditions come, he is on the money, but it is all about getting to that point on his tyres. They are beginning to wear at this point. And 15 laps on that set. I think more trouble probably going to come the way of Recon. 61% on his rear left, and 19 laps on those tyres. It's going to be really difficult for him to go to the end here.
Yeah, it is indeed. As Will has retired from the session in the pits, it just wasn't wet enough. Last lap around, still a 1:13 for Simo, still a 1 minute 12 for Midnight at the moment, who's nearly pulled away 3 seconds from Wilson Hughes here. We've not seen any understeer, so the fronts are coping fine, as Alimonda said, and we've not seen that telltale message of DRS disabled, and that's probably going to be good news for Simo here, because he might get a boost of DRS off Petrox. Wasn't quite close enough, as I think Recon and Suso have come together. I think Suso went for a move there on Recon, and Jordan and Hughes have just said thank you very much. They're up into 5th and 6th.
Unbelievable stuff here for that position there, and both of them losing out on positions now. So as we begin lap 31 of the Grand Prix, it seems like Midnight is closing up to the back of Simo, but I think this is going to be the championship fight that we've all been waiting for, because at the moment, look who's going for a move. Wilson Hughes on the back of Duncan, and this could be where everything changes in the championship hunt. He said that he was beatable in a pre-race interview, and he said that winning was in his blood. Well, this is going to be really a true test if it is in his blood, if he can make the move on his main rival. Only 4 laps difference in their tyres. He still has the superior grip to Duncan at this point. DRS now going to be in effect for Wilson Hughes as the rain continues to clatter down on the circuit. The two Titans gonna clash here today, because now coming through the chicane, here comes Wilson on the exit. He's closing up. He's about 2 tenths off the back of the Alfa Romeo car, as now into the hairpin. Is he gonna go for the send? Not quite, but he has got the DRS. Maybe Duncan has the DRS on Petrox, but now coming off the exit of the hairpin, here comes Wilson Hughes. Duncan using everything, the extremities of his ERS. He's not got a DRS on Petrox in front of him. Here comes Wilson Hughes for P3 on circuit. The two championship leaders going to be dueling, and like that, it is all over. Wilson Hughes going to be sliding away through the chicane, but he has managed to make up the position. P3 on circuit for the Scotsman.
Yeah, you, Suso, Benjamin and Mish coming into the pits. Lap times dropping into the 1:16s and 1:17s. It's close whether you risk a pit stop, but with it being such a short pit lane, I don't think we're too far away. DRS is still enabled, but you can see every car has got the red rain light flashing on the back of their car at the moment. It is definitely, we're close to the crossover point here. You, Suso, Benjamin and all those thinking that it is worth it. And Recon, of course, he came in that lap earlier. He's lost a couple of seconds to Suso and Hughes, but not a lot, suggesting we aren't too far away maybe from the crossover point. Samuel Bean gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting, so I think he's gone straight over a corner on that set of the mediums. I'll check if he has got any damage whatsoever. Hughes still got that tiny bit of front wing damage. Is it going to be raining hard enough? Hughes looks as though coming through the corners, he's still losing a few temps. He still hasn't got the traction at the moment. I think the tyres you'd want to be on might be a set of fresh softs all of a sudden here, because they'd be loving these conditions as Jordan now works his way past Duncan. VSR drivers swapping for 4th and 5th. Will the leaders come into the pits on this lap? Midnight stays out, DRS disabled, and Simo, he takes that opportunity into the pits, as does Wilson, as does pretty much the entire field behind him. Will anyone get a pit lane speeding penalty all of a sudden here? Doesn't look like they're doing so. Midnight staying out on circuit there. Could that cost him his first ever victory, or is it going to be a masterstroke from the Mercedes?
I think it's at least helped that Simo was held up in the pit lane by drivers passing him, and it has allowed for Wilson Hughes to get into P2 here. So now, with the rain continuing to fall in this Grand Prix, and I feel so bad for Midnight at this point, because look at how much he is struggling at the moment. He is just crawling around the circuit. I think those tyres just not suited to the conditions, and I think it's all the beginning of the end for him, I'd say.
But he's 20 seconds ahead of Wilson. Will he lose 10 seconds a lap? Could be the big question here. As Wilson just sails his way past Casper, there's contact. I think Casper was trying to hang in there, and I'm not sure that was ever going to work. So Casper gets spun around there. He's going to drop a long way down the order. Any slim chance of him getting points has just flown out of the window. Wilson, he might end up taking the victory in this race here. Hughes right on the back of Simo, but he's going to have to do this without the DRS, of course. 2 laps to go at the end of this one. Does Midnight stay out? Does he come into the pits? He decides he is staying out another lap in the lead of this race. He's going on to the end of this race. This is going to be fascinating. This could almost be like Silverstone 2020, except instead of a puncture, we've just got the Mercedes on the complete wrong tyres. Wilson in second, Simo third, Hughes in fourth. He's only 2 seconds behind Wilson, but Simo is definitely holding him up at the moment. We could see the Mercedes, the McLaren even, take this victory.
I cannot comprehend what is happening at the moment, but Midnight is struggling so much. 23.4 on that previous lap on that set of tyres. He's struggling so hard. Wilson was about 3 seconds quicker, and he came out the pit lane as well. So I think he is going to catch him by the end of the race, even though it is just about 1.5 laps to the end. It's going to be right up to the wire. All Wilson needs to jump Midnight is 3 seconds. That is the gap that he'll need, of course. Midnight with 6 seconds of penalties. Wilson only with 3. He's now 13 seconds back from Midnight, and with the rain continuing to fall and those tyres beginning to age more and more, the advantage is just going to keep spreading out for Wilson. He's gained about, 5 seconds maybe? 6 seconds on this lap alone. So you cannot count him out right towards the end. Midnight, he's gambled. He's one of the only drivers on a set of the slick tyres. He's leading the race. He's now got 10 seconds to Wilson behind. I just cannot comprehend what is going to be going through his head at the moment.
No, neither can I. Final lap of the race, and 10 seconds is the lead. Effectively 7 seconds because of the penalties. Wilson is 3 seconds ahead of Hughes. Further down the order, Benjamin has got ahead of Mish, and Mish is round. Gamer's got into him. Big crash in the final sector. There was no ghosting going on there. Samuel being out of the race. Blizzard with damage. Mish with damage. Gamer surely with damage as well. So that's Ash Best promoted up a few places. Last lap around, Wilson was 8 seconds faster than Midnight. I think he's just gone that 1 lap less. He'd have taken the victory in this race. This is going to be so gutting for him, of course, at this moment in time. Ash gets a 5-second penalty for ignoring the yellow flag. Samuel being a retirement from this race probably ends any slim title chances we've got. Midnight might just take this out on track, but penalty-wise, he's got absolutely no chance, I don't think, of holding on. It's effectively a few tenths of a second all of a sudden now. Wilson has picked up another warning, so even if he did want to get that warning penalty removed, I don't think it's going to make a difference because he's going to get the win anyway. He won't be able to, but here comes Midnight heading towards the finish line. We'll wait and see what's going to happen. He's going to take the victory, I think, out on track here. It was a valiant effort to try and hold on, and if it wasn't for track limit penalties, he would have done so, and we would be seeing our 7th different winner of the season. Midnight heads towards the finish line in the Mercedes. He's going to take the checkered flag, but it is Wilson who takes the victory here in Canada. It's Midnight Goose takes second even. Jordan in third. Duncan, 19th to 4th, retains the championship lead in the end. I think he'd have taken that after qualifying. 5th for Midnight, Simo 6th, Suso, Benjamin, Young Power, Recon picking up his 2nd points of the season as we see the rest of the drivers coming across the line. So close for Midnight to taking that race victory. If the rain had started, 30 seconds later than it did, we'd probably be looking at our 7th different victor of the season. As it is though, Wilson takes the victory and takes a big chunk out of Duncan's championship lead.
Even though Midnight hasn't won this Grand Prix, he didn't get on the podium, I still think he has got full commendment as a solid PSGL F1 driver. And I still think, even though he lost positions in the end from pole position, he's still my personal driver of the day. The title gap is now 3 points with 3 rounds to go in this Grand Prix. It's closer than ever. And I think with Wilson taking his 2nd win of the season, confidence is going to be sky high at the moment.
Yeah, Wilson's dancing there, looking almost as slippery as Midnight did on those set of slick tyres. But it's a win for Wilson. Another 2nd place for Hughes, his 3rd of the season. He'll be fairly happy with how that has gone. And Jordan picking up the final place on the podium. So there we go. There is the provisional results. We'll see if there are any penalties to be decided after the race. Wilson taking the victory. Hughes 2nd, Jordan 3rd, Duncan 19th to 4th. He took a gamble by going medium. In the end, it paid off. If it wasn't for that, we'd be talking about the McLaren having the championship lead. I am certain. Midnight didn't quite make those mediums last. In the end, the rain just came down too hard. But 5th place, another good point score. That's 4 in a row for the Mercedes driver. Simo in 6th. Suso, he's one of scoring points every race this season that he's competed in, continues in 7th. Benjamin is in 8th. Young Power 9th. Recon 10th. Wouters in 11th. One of, well, you can see there, 2 or 3 pit stops for various drivers, despite keeping it clean. Just double stacks, really costing the Renault team today. Mish is in 12th. Gamer 13th. Ashbest 14th. Blizzard 15th. Casper 16th. Petrux was, of course, disconnected from the session. Samuel Beam classified as 18th, a victim of that final lap crash. Willow G retiring after going too early onto a set of the intermediate tyres. Absolutely fantastic end to that Canadian Grand Prix in the end. Wilson taking a very hard-fought victory, though.
Absolutely. Hopefully we'll get some of these drivers into the commentary box for an interview. I kind of do want to interview Midnight after that one, just to get his thoughts on his Grand Prix. He's even asked if he wanted to, and he said he'll just cry the entire time. I do feel bad for Midnight in this Grand Prix because he fought so hard for it, and even in practice, people were saying how, like, people talking about his times, that they were very quick. So yeah, it is heartbreak for him at the end of that one, but hopefully we can get some drivers in. I believe we got actually the race winner and first 2-time winner of this season. Wilson Hughes is in the waiting room.
Yeah, so let's get the podium interviews underway then. The first time this season, we went 6 races with 6 different winners. We couldn't quite make it 7 out of 7, and one man who was absolutely delighted with that fact, of course, is the reigning champion. Now just 3 points off the championship lead. What a crazy end to that race it was, Wilson. Did you think for a second I might not catch up to Midnight here?
No, not really. I mean, I wasn't really focusing on the gap. To be honest with you, I was just giving it everything, to be honest. And in those last few laps, conditions were really tricky, and the car was not fun at all. And I'm sure you know that this track surface is just it's something else in these tires. So to come out on top like that, I'm very, very pleased, especially with how close this title fight is.
Yeah, it is a close title fight indeed. Tell us about a small incident that we just caught a bit of on stream there. You on the intermediate tyres, Casper on the hards, I think just trying to hang on to the position. Did he just lose it on his own, or was there a bit of contact between the two of you?
So, I mean, to be honest with you, I can't remember. I mean, all I can remember is I went down the inside. I was side pod, and then obviously he has no grip. So we're banging at wheels a bit. I left a load of space on the right, but I think it was a mixture of him and bad tyres and wet track and stuff. And it definitely wasn't my fault. I can hands down say that. I think Ash might report me as well for the pit lane incident, which I don't get, but I'm talking to him about that. But I mean, I think I'll be fine. I think I'll keep the win, and so I have no clue.
3 points behind, 3 races to go, and you definitely look to have the edge in qualifying at the moment. And the next circuit, Japanese Grand Prix, not one that is known for loads of overtaking, you must be feeling really confident of making this 2 titles in a row.
Yeah, well, you read my mind, look. I was thinking that just before this race, I was like, if I can get a good race here, I'll be in a really good spot for next week. Japan is extremely difficult to overtake, and I have noticed, not discrediting Duncan at all, however, I've noticed he started last today and he finished 4th or whatever it was. So I do feel he gets slightly lucky in some aspects. His racecraft is good, but he does have quite a lot of fortune at the moment. So, I mean, that fortune isn't going to sit there for much longer, and when it doesn't, I'm ready to pounce. So I'm sure Japan will be a very tricky race for him.
I'll hand you over to Dan, see if he's got any questions for you.
First of all, hello Wilson, really well done in this race, picking up your 2nd win of the season. But I'd actually like to bring up something that wasn't a part of this race, really. It was a bit of a pre-race interview, could we say, and I'll read out what you said for the viewers. So Duncan is more than beatable. We beat Use last season, so they've sent me another one after me. Winning is in my blood, but the best part of it is pissing off all the right people. So there's been a lot of speculation that that's an ego talking. So I'd just like to kind of get your thoughts on what you were thinking when you said that.
Well, look, Daniel, confidence is key. These people saying I have an ego, I mean, what are they living for? I don't know. I think they're jealous, to be honest with you. And I'm sure the people who've read that quote know who it's aimed at. Nothing against Duncan again. I just said he's more than beatable. I beat him last season. I beat Use last season. I'm the one to chase for. I'm the reigning champion. I think I have the right to be slightly cocky, and I have the edge over them all. So that's how the quote went. But yeah.
Well, you know what? That is completely fair enough, and I think that is also justified after your performance today. So I haven't got any more questions, but I'd just like to say really well done again. So I really hope you're pleased with that one.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, congratulations, Wilson. 3 points behind in the championship and your 2nd victory of the season.
Thanks, Luke.
We're now going to bring in a man who's familiar to the podium interviews, but hasn't quite made it to the top step so far this season. It is VSR Used, another 2nd position for yourself. Fantastic race, keeping it clean, as we see at so many circuits, especially Canada, proving to be crucial for yourself.
Yeah, I had 2 warnings in lap 8 or something, so I was very cautious to the corners, and sometimes I lost DRS because I didn't want a penalty, and it was very difficult to keep it in the limits.
Yeah, it looks like there might have been one bit where you overstepped the limit. You did get yourself tiny bit of front wing damage. Were you tempted to change that at the pit stop, or was it not affecting your performance anywhere near enough?
Yeah, I was very close behind Gamer, and I don't know, but he hit the wall as well, or not, and I understeered in the wall as well. I followed him in the wall, but wing damage was not that big. But yeah, if I replace my wing, that costs me a lot more time than if I drive through.
You're back up into the top 3 in the championship now. You're 18 points behind your teammate. Are you going to play the number 2 role in the next few races, or do you still have your own title ambitions?
I have still my own title ambitions, and not sometimes we are team working with each other, but
yeah, we'll have to wait and see how the final few races go for yourself. Alfa Romeo looking very good in the constructors. Dan, do you have any questions for Just?
Yeah. So first of all, I'd just like to mention that this is your 3rd second place of the season, but you haven't got a win yet. So with the final 3 rounds coming up, we head to Japan, Azerbaijan and Brazil. Out of those 3 tracks, if you were to take a win, which track would it be most likely at?
I think no one, but maybe Brazil or Azerbaijan. I didn't drove it this game yet, but and Japan, I don't know.
Yeah, of course, this is going to be the first time on this game that PSGL actually heads to Baku, so it's going to be a bit of a wild card for everyone. So I wouldn't give up hope just yet, you. So I do think that win is coming for you, but really well done on the second place today, and I'm wishing the best for you for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, you. Another second place for yourself.
Thanks.
We're going to bring in our final podium sitter then. First time he's been on the podium since he took the victory at the Austrian Grand Prix. And another driver who we're keeping it clean really did help him in this race. And he had to make a lot of overtakes. It is Jordan. A good return to PSGL after missing the last two races for yourself. Jordan, are you there? Has he disappeared from the chat? Jordan, can you hear me? I think we seem to be having a few problems connecting to Jordan. We'll just we'll talk about the race quickly, Dan, while we try and sort things out there. It was such a fantastic race, and Wilson, he's proving there he's very confident about his abilities, and you can see why. 2 pole positions so far this season, and the first driver to get 2 wins.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that really does come down to just the confidence that he had coming into the race, of course, with his statement being a bit controversial. Of course, we were talking about it pre-race, having all the mentions of people fighting it out about whether it's ego or if it's just confidence. Personally, I piped up about it. I think it was just fighting talk at the end of the day, and well, you're not going to have the mentality of, maybe I won't win, maybe I will win in this race. No, you have to be assertive. So full credit to Wilson to take the win. He talked the talk and he walked the damn walk.
Yeah, definitely. There's nothing wrong with, like you said, being confident as long as you back it up. And he has done that. Just, we'll see if he does get any reports. Obviously, he did have collisions with a couple of VSR drivers, Ash being one, Casper being another. We sort of caught both of them kind of on stream. Do you think there's anything for him to be worried about in either of those?
Sorry, I was having a little bit of a connection issue. I didn't really catch that one there.
We saw, obviously, there was a bit of a tap with Ash and there was a bit of a tap with Casper. Do you think Wilson has to be worried about those?
I don't think for the Ash Best one. Of course, we caught that one perfectly on stream. I think you had to expect him to come back across the racing line. So I'm not really seeing that come out as anything as a penalty, and he did mention that he's talking to him about it. Whether for the Casper one, that's a little bit touch and go. He said that he left a lot of room. Whether that displays on Casper's perspective, I'm not too sure. But if that one of those two does get penalised, the win will be taken from him, and then it will go back the way of use, which would make it 7 different winners in 7 races, but I don't really see that happening, to be honest. I also think Casper probably would have been wise to let them through. He's of no obligation to, but come on, he's on the hard tyres and everyone else is on the intermediates, and they're about, a couple of seconds a corner quicker. So, yeah, it's a bit touch and go. Whether Casper does report it, then we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think if he does get a penalty, it will definitely drop him a long way down the order. Just look what happened to Midnight. We are going to try again with Jordan. Just confirming, can you hear us, Jordan? I think we're just going to have to call this one off, unfortunately. Shame we won't be able to hear from our 3rd place man. He had a fantastic race. So many drivers having a good race. Duncan as well. Wilson saying he's got lucky and, his fortune's got to run out. But fortune sometimes favours the brave, and it was definitely a brave choice by Duncan to go medium. Definitely the quickest strategy before the rain came.
Yeah, you know what? I think I will actually have to disagree with Wilson there. I do think that there's more to racing than just raw pace. I think it does come down to strategy as well. And Duncan has really perfected that in his racing. He's put a lot into that ethic, sort of. So I do think that Duncan's not lucky. I do think it is more down to his choices benefiting himself and just having that kind of strategist mind. It does remind me a little bit of Alain Prost, given the fact that he was never really the outright fastest, but he was always there to pick up a win and just drive methodically at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes, especially back in Alain Prost day, to finish first you must finish. And I think for Wilson, for Duncan, possibly for Eust, maybe even some of those further down the order. It's all going to be about finishing races now on consistent points if you want to become the champion. Make sure, of course, to check out the rest of the PSGL action in the week. Plenty of other racing going on across all 12 PlayStation tiers and, of course, the PC tier. For the PC drivers, it is the traditional finale, but this time around it is only round 13 out of 15 for them at Abu Dhabi for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Make sure to check out George Morgan and Jack Canane on Thursday at 7 p.m. There's also F12 and F11 on the PlayStation on a Thursday, F8 to F10 on the Sunday, with the top 7 tiers on a Monday, and myself and Dan will be taking you through next time around at Suzuka, the Japanese Grand Prix, a circuit which has seen many title-defining races over the years, and next week's won't be a decider, but it could well have a big say in the way the title goes. Thank you to everyone who has joined us in the chat. Thank you to Dan for joining us as well, and those in the podium interviews, and we will see you next week, Monday, 8 p.m, for the Japanese Grand Prix. Thank you once again, and good night.